Close your eyes and imagine a world veiled in a quiet, solemn hush. Not the hush of peace, but of a deep, troubled sorrow. For generations, the earth had groaned under the weight of human choices, until the very heart of creation yearned for a reset. But even in this profound sadness, a whisper of hope, a single glimmer of unwavering trust began to emerge from the quiet life of one man. Imagine, if you will, the world as it once was, not long after its vibrant creation. The sun still rose with glorious fire, painting the heavens each dawn, and the rivers still carved their ancient paths to the sea. Yet a quiet change had begun to creep across the land, a subtle shift in the heart of humanity itself. What started as a whisper of discord had grown into a pervasive hum, a dull ache in the very fabric of existence. The innocent joy that once bloomed freely seemed to wither, replaced by something heavier, more shadowed. The paths people walked, the thoughts they nurtured, the desires that stirred within their souls. Increasingly, they turned away from the light, becoming entangled in a thicket of self-interest and disregard for one another. It was a time when the echoes of kindness grew faint. The laughter of children, though still heard, was often punctuated by the cries of injustice. The hands that were meant to build and nurture now often reached out in anger or greed. The very ground seemed to absorb this growing disharmony, and the air, once crisp with the breath of new life, now carried a subtle, almost imperceptible heaviness, a collective sigh. Human hearts, once formed in innocence and intended for fellowship, had become consumed by a darkness that spread like a slow-moving tide, eroding the beauty and harmony of creation. Every thought, every intention, from the deepest chambers of the human spirit, was bent towards self-serving ends, straying further and further from the divine design. Gossip replaced grace, ambition overshadowed empathy, and the pursuit of power eclipsed the simple joy of shared existence. This was not a sudden catalysis, but a gradual, heartbreaking drift, a slow fading of the initial brilliance. From above, a profound sorrow began to settle upon the Creator's heart. It was not a thunderous rage, but a deep, aching grief, like a parent watching a beloved child stray far from the path of joy and flourishing. Imagine the pain, the profound disappointment of seeing the intricate tapestry you wove with such love begin to unravel, strand by precious strand. The very act of creation, a masterpiece born of infinite wisdom and boundless affection, now seemed marred by the choices of its most cherished inhabitants. The vibrant life that pulsed through the world, the intricate dance of flora and fauna, the majestic sweep of mountains and seas, all seemed diminished by the discord resonating from humanity, a dissonance that echoed through the very heavens. The sacred texts tell us that God regretted that he had made mankind on the earth, and he was deeply grieved in his heart. This was not a change of mind born of error, but a profound empathy, a divine heartache that pierced the very core of his being. The Creator's sorrow was not the short-lived pain of frustration, but the enduring ache of love wounded by rejection, of hope deferred by persistent turning away. It was a grief so profound, so all-encompassing, that it reached into the deepest chambers of the divine being, a silent lament for what had been lost. And in this sorrow, a quiet yet firm resolve began to form. The world, teeming with life and promise, could not continue down this shadowed path. Its potential stifled, its beauty obscured. The deep sigh of creation, burdened by human wickedness, called for a different way, a necessary intervention. A cleansing was needed, not out of vengeance, but out of a fierce protective love for the very essence of creation itself, for the possibility of goodness that still lingered. The divine heart, though heavy with grief, still beat with an unwavering desire for goodness, for peace, for a renewed beginning. A fresh canvas, not merely wiped clean, but nurtured once more toward its original, pristine vision, ensuring that life, in its purest form, might once again flourish. This renewal would not erase the past, but offer a new dawn, a testament to enduring hope and the boundless grace of the Creator. The world in those days had indeed drifted far from the Creator's heart. A thick shroud of wrongdoing covered the land, and the echoes of sorrow were felt deeply, even in the serene expanse of the heavens. From bustling markets to quiet groves, the choices of humanity seemed uniformly bent towards self-indulgence and neglect of the divine whisper. Yet, amidst this deepening gloom, amidst the clamor and the casual cruelty, a solitary figure stood apart, a quiet testament to a profoundly different path. His name was Noah, and his life was a gentle counterpoint to the discordant chorus of his time. While others pursued their own fleeting desires, their hearts often hardened by a relentless tide of self-interest, Noah walked with a different rhythm entirely. He was a man of the earth, perhaps, familiar with its rich soil beneath his bare feet, attuned to the subtle changes of seasons and the patterns of the stars that wheeled above. Yet his spirit soared beyond the fleeting concerns that captivated his neighbors. He did not merely avoid the rampant wickedness. He actively cultivated a life that mirrored the ancient, divine whisper of purity and goodness. In a world bent seemingly on its own destruction, Noah was a vessel of quiet resistance. His very existence, a gentle protest, a soft luminescence against the prevailing darkness. His integrity was not loudly proclaimed, but rather a deep, unwavering river flowing through the arid landscape of human failing. It was this profound, unyielding faithfulness that caught the discerning eye of the Creator. Where God saw widespread corruption and profound sorrow etched across the faces of His creation, He also saw Noah. And in Noah He found favor, a grace, a warm acceptance that transcended the world's failings. Not because Noah was perfect in every conceivable human way, but because his heart was truly yielded, his spirit genuinely attentive, and his footsteps aligned with the divine will. He was blameless among the people of his generation, not in an accusatory judgment of others, but in the simple, radiant truth of his own walk, a man whose principles stood firm against the eroding tide. Imagine the quiet, profound joy that must have stirred in the divine heart to find such a man, a single soul, uncompromised, unswayed by the powerful currents of the age. Noah truly walked with God, a phrase that speaks not merely of dutiful religious observance, but of an intimate daily companionship, a shared path through the burgeoning chaos. His decisions, his quiet words, his very being were interwoven with a deep reverence for the one who had breathed life into all things. He listened for divine guidance in the rustling leaves and the still hours of the night, and he followed even when the path seemed solitary, even when it led distinctly away from the broad and crowded roads everyone else traversed. In this man, God saw not just an individual, but a profound possibility, a precious seed of hope nestled in a seemingly barren field, a single, steadfast anchor in a world utterly adrift. His faithfulness was not an accident. It was an active, conscious choice, made day after day, year after year, through countless sunrises and sunsets. And it was this unwavering commitment, this quiet, deep integrity, that would become the very foundation for a new beginning. The world needed renewal, a fresh start, and the Creator, in His boundless wisdom and enduring love, would choose a singular, humble instrument for this monumental task. It would be through Noah, this man of steadfast heart and unblemished walk, that the delicate threads of salvation would begin to be woven, not for his generation alone, but for the very continuation of life itself upon the earth. The divine plan, vast and mysterious, yet brimming with compassionate intent, was about to unfold, centered on the humble, devoted life of one righteous man. In the quiet corners of Noah's spirit, where faithfulness had long taken root, a profound shift occurred. The Lord, who saw beyond the encroaching darkness, began to speak, not in a thunderous roar, but with a clarity that resonated deep within Noah's very being. It was a communication of immense gravity, revealing a sorrowful truth. The earth would be cleansed. A great flood would come, sweeping away the corruption that had grieved the divine heart. Yet, amidst this sorrowful decree lay a promise of preservation, a meticulous plan for new beginnings. "Make yourself an ark of gopher wood," the divine voice instructed, the words forming a mental image, an unfolding blueprint in Noah's mind. And imagine the weight of those first few syllables, the scale of such a command. An ark, a vessel unlike any ever conceived by human hands. Not a boat for sailing familiar rivers, but a colossal sanctuary designed to ride out an unprecedented global deluge. Every detail was crucial, every measurement imbued with purpose. God, the ultimate architect, was providing the design. The specifications began to unfold, painting a vivid mental picture of timbers and chambers. "You shall make rooms in the ark, and you shall pitch it inside and outside with pitch." Pitch, a thick, dark, resinous substance, essential for waterproofing, sealing every joint, every seam, ensuring not a single drop of the coming waters could breach its integrity. This was not a suggestion, but a precise engineering requirement, demonstrating the meticulous care of the Creator for the lives that would be entrusted to this vessel. Then came the astonishing dimensions. "The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits." Picture those numbers translating cubits to feet in Noah's understanding. Visualizing a structure so vast it would dwarf any building he had ever seen or even heard of. A structure nearly 500 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 50 feet high. Its sheer scale was a testament to the magnitude of the task and the immense scope of God's intention to save not just Noah's family, but a diverse tapestry of life. 3 decks were to be built within this colossal frame: lower, second, and third, each designed to house the incredible diversity of creation. A single window high up for light and ventilation, and a door on its side, the only entrance and exit to this floating haven. It was a design focused purely on survival, on enclosure, on being set apart. No sails, no rudder, for this journey would not be guided by human navigation, but by the very hand of God. The immensity of the task must have settled upon Noah, not as a crushing burden, but as a sacred trust, to be chosen for such a monumental undertaking, to follow such precise, intricate instructions required not just skill, but an unwavering, quiet faith. He was to become an instrument of preservation, a steward of life, preparing to build a testament to divine mercy in a world teetering on the brink of oblivion. The wood would need to be cut, the beams shaped, the pitch prepared. The immense work was about to begin. With God's precise instructions etched into his very being, Noah stood before an empty landscape, the divine blueprint a staggering vision in his mind. The task was monumental, an undertaking that would define not just his life, but the very course of creation itself. To build an ark, an edifice of such colossal scale and intricate design, required more than mere skill. It demanded an unwavering, radical trust in the unseen, a faith that could move mountains, or in this case, fell forests and shape timbers into an impossible vessel. The silent expanse awaited the first swing of an axe, the first deliberate cut of wood, initiating a journey of obedience that would span decades. The work began with a single resonant thud echoing through the quiet air. Then another and another. The rhythmic cadence of axes felling trees, the groan of wood being dragged, the sharp rasp of saws, and the dull thud of hammers shaping planks became the soundtrack of Noah's life. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, labored alongside him, their muscles straining, their hands growing calloused, their brows often beaded with sweat. Each nail driven, each beam hoisted, each joint carefully fitted was an act of profound commitment, a tangible prayer whispered in wood and pitch. The scent of fresh-cut gopher wood mingled with the dust of their toil, a testament to the immense, patient effort unfolding day after arduous day. Years turned into seasons, and seasons into decades. The scorching summer sun gave way to the biting winds of winter, only to be replaced by the gentle warmth of spring, each cycle marking the slow, deliberate rise of the ark. What began as a distant, abstract shape on the horizon gradually manifested into a colossal structure, its sheer bulk a testament to the relentless passage of time and the unflagging diligence of Noah's family. They worked not in haste, but with the careful, meticulous pace demanded by God's design, ensuring every dimension, every seam, every coating of pitch was perfectly applied. The world around them, however, remained oblivious, lost in its accustomed patterns. Curious onlookers would sometimes gather, their initial wonder quickly fading into dismissive jeers and mocking laughter. To them, Noah was a madman, building a ship where there was no sea, preparing for a flood that defied all reason and experience. Their words, light and sharp as thrown stones, undoubtedly reached Noah and his family, but they seemed to bounce off the growing walls of their faith, leaving no lasting mark. Their commitment was not to the approval of men, but to the divine word of their Creator. Through long days, and often under the silent gaze of the moon, Noah persisted, his heart steadfast. He found strength not in external validation, but in the quiet conviction of God's promise. The ridicule was a persistent hum, a background noise that merely underscored the depth of his isolation. Yet it never swayed his resolve. He knew the world saw folly, but he saw salvation. They saw wood and pitch, but he saw a vessel for life, born of faith. He would not rush, he would not waver, for the one who had commanded this immense undertaking was the very source of his enduring strength. Finally, After generations had come and gone, the colossal ark stood complete, a silent sentinel against the horizon. Its vast timbered frame, now fully coated within and without with pitch, presented an imposing, almost monolithic presence. A lifetime of labor, meticulous and unwavering, had culminated in this moment. The ark waited, a testament to faith embodied, its massive door a promise of sanctuary, patiently awaiting the next phase of God's perfect unfolding plan. After decades of toil, the great vessel stood complete, a testament to unwavering faith against a world of doubt. The scent of seasoned gopher wood mingled with the dry earth, a structure vast and silent, awaiting its purpose. Yet, it was not the wind or the distant murmur of the burgeoning city that now filled the air, but something far more profound. A tremor beneath the soil, a whisper carried on the breeze from every corner of the land. Then it began, not with a sudden roar, nor a hurried rush, but with an unfolding grace, a gentle, purposeful convergence. From the sun-baked plains, the shadowed forests, and the distant mountain peaks they came. Creatures of every scale, every hue, every ancient design, stirred by an invisible command, drawn by an unspoken call, echoing in their very bones. There was no chaos, no fear in their eyes, only an instinctual journey toward a common sanctuary. Imagine the sight, the ground beginning to pulse with the silent footsteps of countless hooves and paws. A parade of life, slow and magnificent. The majestic lion, its mane gleaming, walked beside the timid deer, their usual animosities hushed, suspended by a greater will. Bears lumbered with a quiet dignity, their heavy coats brushing against the delicate wings of iridescent butterflies. Slithering serpents, vibrant in their scales, navigated the roots and stones, while nimble squirrels scampered alongside, their bushy tails a blur of motion. Each pair, each family, moving as if guided by an internal compass, pointing unerringly towards the ark. The air grew thick with the unique scents of the wild, musk and fir, damp earth and forest leaves, yet no scent of fear or aggression. They approached the ramp, a great wooden bridge leading into the belly of the vessel, not jostling, not competing, but waiting their turn with an uncanny patience. The heavy tread of an elephant, the delicate hop of a tiny bird, the scuttle of an insect, each found its place. For the clean animals, those designated for sacrifice after the great cleansing, they came in sevens, a testament to abundance and the future of sacred ritual. For the others, the pattern was clear. 2 by 2, male and female, ensuring the continuation of their kind. Inside the ark, the vast holds awaited them, filled with stalls and compartments meticulously prepared. The soft rustle of straw, the gentle lowing of cattle, the quiet cooing of doves. An atmosphere of profound peace settled within the massive wooden walls. Noah and his family, witnesses to this unparalleled miracle, moved among them, guiding, tending, but mostly marveling. They did not herd or drive. They merely opened the way, understanding that this was not their doing, but the quiet, undeniable work of the Creator. Each creature found its allotted space, settling down as if returning home after a long journey, preparing for a long slumber. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, casting long, peaceful shadows over the land. The sounds of the arriving animals gradually softened, replaced by the murmurs of creatures settling, the soft breaths of slumber. A quiet expectation now filled the air, not of the coming storm, but of the completion of God's quiet, magnificent design. The ark, once an empty shell, now vibrated with the silent pulse of all living things, a world within a world, held safe by an unseen hand. Soon, the last pair would pass through the entrance, and the great door would be sealed, not by man, but by the divine. The time for waiting was almost over. The time for departure was at hand. The last of the pairs, a majestic lion and lioness, stepped across the gangway, their silent pads barely disturbing the dust. Inside, the vast interior of the ark, once echoing and empty, now thrummed with a profound, gentle life. The air, heavy with the scent of straw, wood, and 1,000 unique animal presences, created a living tapestry of smells. Noah and his family moved through the dimly lit passages, their faces etched with a blend of awe and quiet determination. Each stall, each spacious compartment was now claimed. Here, the soft huffing of oxen. There, the rustle of feathers from countless birds nesting in specially constructed perches. The deep, resonant purr of a large cat blended with the chirping of crickets carried in from the receding world. A quiet rhythm settled upon the ark. The soft breathing of resting creatures, the occasional sigh of a weary camel, the gentle murmurs of the family as they checked water troughs and food stores. It was a symphony of survival, conducted in hushed tones. Outside, the sky still held its familiar blue, though a subtle shift in the light hinted at an unseen change. Yet, within the ark, time seemed to slow, suspended in a moment of profound peace before the unknown. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, alongside their wives, worked in concert, their movements precise and practiced. They had prepared for this moment for decades, under the guiding hand of their father, and now the fruits of their faith surrounded them. Noah, his face now bearing the lines of immense labor and even greater trust, stood with his wife, surveying the incredible sanctuary they had built. A feeling of completeness settled over him. Every command had been followed, every animal secured. The Ark, truly a world within itself, awaited its divine purpose. The air grew stiller, the gentle hum of life inside seeming to hold its breath. A profound silence descended, not of emptiness, but of anticipation. The last rays of the sun, filtering through the high openings, cast long, shifting shadows across the great wooden beams, highlighting the intricate joinery, the testament to years of unwavering effort. Then a presence, not seen with the eye, but felt deep within the spirit. A shift in the very atmosphere, a weight of divine intent. The family gathered, hushed, knowing that the moment had come. Outside, the world continued, unaware of the impending shift. But within these walls, every living soul sensed the turning of an age. A colossal shadow fell across the main entrance, the immense opening where the ramp had led. It was not Noah, nor any of his family who approached the door. With a deep, resonant groan that echoed through the entire vessel, the massive door began to move. Its hinges, crafted to bear unimaginable weight, turned with a slow, deliberate grace. The sound was not violent, but heavy, final, a testament to the power that guided it. Inch by painstaking inch, the colossal timbers swung inward, then outward, aligning perfectly with the frame. It was God Himself, reaching down, closing the final barrier between this chosen sanctuary and the world beyond. A deep thud, a sound that vibrated through the very bones of the Ark, marked its complete closure. The world outside was gone, sealed away. Darkness, deep and absolute, enveloped the interior, broken only by the dim glow of oil lamps lit by the family. The air, once vibrant with the echoes of entry, now settled into a profound, enclosed silence. But it was not a silence of fear, but of sacred containment. A new chapter had begun, sealed by the hand of the Almighty, within this vessel of hope. The Ark, now a floating world, awaited its gentle voyage. A profound hush settled upon the world. The massive door of the Ark, once open to the fading light, now stood sealed, a final boundary between two epochs. Inside, a quiet stillness permeated the air, a gentle anticipation shared by every creature. Outside, a different kind of silence descended, heavy and deep, broken only by the whispers of a wind unlike any that had swept the earth before. Then the atmosphere began its profound transformation. The air grew thick, pregnant with an unspoken weight. The very light of the sky seemed to soften, turning a muted, pearlescent gray, as if the sun itself held its breath. A palpable shift in the world's very vibration signaled that something immense, something ancient, was beginning to stir from its slumber. The world was poised on the cusp of an irreversible change. From the heavens above, the first drops came, not in a sudden downpour, nor a violent storm, but as a steady, persistent blessing. It was a rain unlike any seen before, for no cloud had ever filled the skies in such a way. It descended without fury, a soft, continuous veil drawing itself across the earth. Each drop a gentle murmur, a quiet promise of cleansing. The sky, once a distant dome, now seemed to draw intimately closer, its endless expanse opening to release its gathered bounty. And from the earth below, a deep, resonant hum began to rise. The fountains of the great deep, long held in their subterranean embrace, began to stir. Not with a violent rupture, but with an inexorable, ancient strength. Water welled up from beneath the very foundations of the land. It seeped from cracks in the parched earth, emerged from hidden springs, and swelled forth from unseen depths, a slow, patient surge that merged with the descending rain, completing the sacred cycle. Slowly, gracefully, the waters began their quiet ascent. They gathered first in the lowest valleys, filling the hollows, smoothing the rough edges of the landscape. They crept up the slopes of the hills, a liquid embrace tenderly erasing the sharp contours of the familiar world. Meadows became shimmering pools, then shallow lakes, reflecting the muted sky above. The gentle lapping grew into a soft, murmuring current, a quiet song of transformation as the land began its surrender. As the days turned into weeks, the heavens continued their tireless outpouring, and the deep continued to offer its boundless store. The water rose with an unwavering resolve, not in crashing waves of destruction, but in an encompassing, profound stillness. It enveloped groves of trees, their uppermost branches becoming solitary islands before they too disappeared beneath the tranquil surface. The world, once varied and distinct, was slowly, peacefully becoming one vast, unbroken expanse of water. And then, within the ark, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift. A soft, gentle sway, a faint creak of timber against the rising tide. The ark, which had rested firmly upon the dry ground, now stirred. It was no longer bound to the land it had known, but had lifted, buoyed by the very waters that embraced the world. It floated, a quiet vessel adrift on an ocean entirely new. The gentle, unceasing waters now its path and its foundation. The world had begun its great, heaving sigh. What started as a steady drizzle soon swelled into a relentless torrent, a ceaseless symphony of water against the sturdy timber of the vessel. For 40 days and 40 nights, an eternity suspended in time, the heavens opened wide, pouring forth their cleansing tears upon the earth. Above, the sky was a seamless, shifting canvas of profound gray, each cloud heavy and pregnant with the promise of more. Below, the ancient fountains of the great deep broke forth, adding their primordial waters to the unyielding downpour, a slow, deep surge from the very heart of the world. Inside the Ark, a different kind of world settled into being, a hushed and rhythmic existence. The initial tremors of the earth and the overwhelming rush of the first deluge gave way to a profound, constant sway, a gentle rocking that became the very pulse of their survival. The vessel, crafted with such meticulous care and sturdy resolve, proved its humble strength, riding the burgeoning waves with a reassuring, almost tender motion. Sounds within were muted and constant. The soft cooing of doves, the gentle lowing of cattle, the quiet rustle of straw as animals found their comfort and their place, their quiet trust palpable in the enclosed, warm space. Noah and his family, guided by an unwavering spirit, moved through their days with purpose and calm, tending to the myriad needs of their precious cargo, their faith a quiet, unshakable anchor in the midst of the vast, watery expanse that now consumed the world. Outside, the waters rose with a steady, inexorable ascent, swallowing hills and then mountains, steadily reclaiming every peak and valley of the land. What had once been a vibrant, varied tapestry of life and distinct landscapes transformed hour by hour into a boundless, shimmering, unbroken sea. The Ark became a solitary jewel, a singular beacon of life adrift on this liquid expanse, a tiny vessel holding the fragile ember of all creation. There was no horizon as we know it, only the meeting of an indistinguishable gray sky and an equally vast gray water, an endless, swirling canvas that stretched in every direction, obliterating all familiar landmarks. The world beneath them, unseen and unspoken, was undergoing a profound and necessary transformation, a deep and quiet cleansing. All that was old, all that had been corrupted, was being washed away, not with a roar of violent destruction, but with the persistent, almost lulling murmur of the rain and the rhythmic slosh of the waves. Each passing day melted imperceptibly into the next, marked not by sunrise or sunset, but by the steady, hypnotic patter on the Ark's sturdy roof and the deep, consistent heave of the waves beneath them. It was a time of patient waiting, of quiet communion with the divine purpose. The air inside the Ark grew heavy with the comforting, earthy smell of damp wood, of living creatures in peaceful coexistence, and of an unspoken, profound hope that permeated every corner. The resilience of this small, diverse community, both human and animal, was not found in defiance or struggle, but in quiet acceptance, in a steadfast trust that carried them through this monumental shift. They were not fighting the flood. They were moving with it, carried by the very force that transformed the world. Above the completely submerged earth, the ark floated, a testament to endurance, a sanctuary suspended between what was and what would be. The 40 days were a testament to the patient, unwavering power of renewal, a long, quiet journey toward a new, pristine dawn. Then, as abruptly as they had begun, the heavens closed their floodgates. The tumultuous roar of the 40-day deluge softened to a profound, echoing silence. No longer did the ark tremble under the incessant pounding. Instead, it settled into a gentle, rhythmic sway, cradled by the very waters that had engulfed the world. Yet the ordeal was far from over. The rain had ceased, but the waters remained, vast and boundless, covering every mountain peak, every familiar contour of the land. For 150 days, the ark became a solitary speck, a vessel of life adrift on an endless liquid horizon. Imagine the quiet within, the drumming of rain replaced by the soft lapping of water against the hull, a constant lullaby. The air, once heavy with the scent of downpour, now held the subtle tang of damp wood and the living breath of its passengers. Life found a new rhythm within those wooden walls. Noah, his family, and the myriad creatures learned to exist in this floating world, bound together by the ark's sturdy embrace and the omnipresent waters. Days melted into weeks, weeks into months, marked not by sunrise and sunset over familiar terrain, but by the subtle shifts of light filtering through the openings, the changing routines of care and feeding. Outside, the world was a canvas of gray and blue. No land broke the monotony. No distant mountain offered a glimmer of hope. Just water, stretching to meet the sky in every direction. It was a time of immense, quiet patience. Every soul within the ark was called to a profound trust, a surrender to the unseen hand that guided their journey. There were no maps to consult, no stars to navigate by in a sky so often veiled. Only the steady, silent drift, an unwavering faith in the promise that brought them to this floating sanctuary. Children's whispers, the soft cooing of doves, the rustle of straw beneath a sleeping lion. These were the sounds of existence. A vibrant counterpoint to the desolate calm outside. Meals were shared, stories recounted, and prayers offered in hushed tones. The very act of living became an act of worship, an affirmation of life's enduring spirit amidst global transformation. Each gentle sway of the ark, each passing day, was a testament to God's enduring covenant, a slow, deliberate movement towards renewal. The great deep had broken open, and now it prevailed, a silent, powerful force reshaping the very foundations of the earth beneath them. From within the ark, a quiet resilience blossomed, a knowing that while the world outside underwent its long, slow cleansing, they were held held in a divine hand, waiting, patiently waiting, for the waters to begin their slow, majestic retreat. The vast, unending expanse of water, once a terrifying force, had by now become a familiar, if monotonous, companion. For 150 days, the Ark had ridden its surface, a solitary vessel adrift on a world renewed. But beneath its keel, an invisible change was taking place. The mighty waters which had swallowed the earth now began their slow, deliberate retreat. Imperceptibly at first, then with a growing certainty, the Ark's deep draft lessened. The rhythmic, gentle sway that had lulled them for months began to soften, eventually giving way to a new sensation, a quiet, solid resistance. One morning, when the dawn light filtered through the Ark's single window, painting faint stripes of gold on the wooden walls, a subtle shift occurred. A tremor, not of storm, but of settling. A soft thud. Then stillness. The Ark, which had been a floating world, was now a grounded sanctuary. Genesis records it. In the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, a name whispered with quiet reverence within those wooden walls, for it meant stability, an end to the ceaseless drift. With a patient hope that belied the monumental weight, Noah knew this was a new phase. He waited another 40 days, allowing the earth to begin its slow exhalation. Then, at last, he opened the Ark's window. A rush of air, cool and fresh, swept through, carrying the scent of damp earth and something indefinable, the promise of a world reborn. He peered out, his eyes scanning the shrouded peaks, still partially submerged, but now distinct, formidable. His first envoy was a raven, dark and strong, a creature of the wild, resourceful and unafraid of carrion. He released it, a dark silhouette against the pale sky. The raven flew to and fro, a harbinger of the lingering waters, finding its sustenance where it could, never truly returning to the Ark, a testament to the persistence of the flood. Still, Noah waited. 7 days later, he sent forth a dove, a creature of gentler spirit, seeking rest, green branches, and soft ground. It fluttered out, a white fleck against the vast gray. All day, the family watched, their hearts holding a fragile hope. As evening drew in, the dove returned, its small body exhausted, its feet finding no dry place to land. It sought the familiar comfort of Noah's outstretched hand, a silent messenger of an earth still overwhelmed. Another 7 days passed, each marked by quiet prayer and unwavering trust. Noah, with renewed resolve, released the dove once more. This time, the hours stretched, longer than before, laden with anticipation. The sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet. Then a flicker on the horizon, a small, familiar form, wings beating steadily. It approached, not directly to the window, but spiraling in a gentle descent. And then they saw it, clasped delicately in its beak, a single verdant olive leaf, freshly plucked. The sight of it, vibrant and green against the dove's white feathers, was a revelation. It was more than a leaf. It was a testament, a fragile, living proof that the waters were indeed receding, that the high places of the earth were once again emerging from their long sleep, cloaked in green. A whisper of renewed life, of branches reaching for the sun, of roots finding purchase in softened soil. This simple leaf spoke volumes, a silent symphony of hope resounding within the ark. It was a gentle assurance, a tender mercy, signaling not just the end of the flood, but the first breath of a new beginning, green and full of promise. The long, patient wait was drawing to its close, illuminated by this tiny yet monumental sign of life. The long vigil within the ark had stretched into the unimaginable. For more than a year, the world outside had been an changing canvas of water, then mud, then slow-drying earth. Now, the final sign had come. The soil beneath was firm, its surface cracked and dry, thirstily absorbing the deluge's last vestiges. The air that drifted through the ark's single window carried not the tang of endless sea, but the faint, sweet scent of newly moistened soil, of life beginning to stir again from its long, waterlogged slumber. An expectant hush fell over the ark, a palpable sense of anticipation among its weary inhabitants, waiting for release into a world unknown. Then the quiet stillness was broken, not by the clamor of the animals, nor the murmur of human voices, but by the unmistakable sound of God's command. "Go out from the ark," the voice echoed, filling the wooden vessel, "you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." It was a directive of grace and profound release. The long confinement was over. The promise of life renewed was at hand. With deliberate, almost trembling hands, Noah unlatched the heavy door of the ark. A shaft of golden light, richer and more vibrant than any they had seen in over a year, spilled into the dim interior. The air that rushed in was cool and clean, carrying scents of damp earth and nascent green. Noah took a deep breath, his lungs filling with the pristine air of a world reborn. One by one, he and his family, emerging slowly, blinking against the sun's sudden brilliance, stepped onto the solid, dry ground. Their feet, accustomed to the rocking planks, now felt the comforting resistance of stable earth. It was a moment of silent, profound awe, a quiet prayer of thanksgiving rising from their hearts. The vast landscape stretched before them, a canvas for new life. Then came the animals. 2 by 2, 7 by 7, they began to descend the ramp, a procession of every creature that had been preserved. Lions and lambs, elephants and mice, birds of every feather, and reptiles of every scale, all moved with an uncharacteristic calm, sensing the sacredness of the moment. The ground began to vibrate with the thud of hooves, the rustle of scales, the padding of paws. A symphony of new sounds began to rise, the chirping of birds taking to the sky, the lowing of cattle, the chatter of monkeys finding their voices again in the fresh air. Each creature, freed from its temporary refuge, seemed to drink in the new world, their instincts stirring with the joy of unconfined space. The world that greeted them was pristine, scrubbed clean by the deluge. The sky above was a vast, unblemished blue, punctuated by soft, white clouds. The air tasted pure, crisp, and alive. Though the landscape was still largely barren from the flood's recent embrace, a vibrant freshness clung to everything. Patches of new green were already pushing through the softened soil, tiny shoots bravely claiming their place. The mountains of Ararat, their peaks stark against the horizon, now seemed like benevolent guardians, silent witnesses to this magnificent rebirth. The earth itself felt softer, more yielding underfoot, a testament to the immense forces that had reshaped it, now ready to nurture again. For Noah and his family, this was more than just stepping onto land. It was stepping into a future. It was the genesis of a new covenant, a second chance for humanity and all creation. They stood, small figures against the vastness, overwhelmed by the quiet grandeur of a world made new. Every breath was a blessing, every sight a wonder. The fear, the isolation, the sheer terror of the flood now receded like the waters themselves, replaced by an intoxicating sense of possibility. This was not merely survival, it was resurrection. A new world, fresh and full of promise, lay waiting for them to populate, to tend, to live within, under the watchful eye of their Creator. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows of the ark, now a silent, empty sentinel. But the sounds of life, the movements of creatures spreading out across the land, confirmed that its purpose was fulfilled. The air thrummed with the quiet energy of a fresh start. As Noah surveyed the immense expanse, his heart swelled with a gratitude too deep for words. The earth was dry. Life had emerged, and the future, though uncertain, was now undeniably present. What would come next for this small family, this renewed creation, in a world utterly transformed? The first step was taken. The journey had just begun. The world was new again. a fresh canvas painted with the hues of recent rain and burgeoning life. Noah, his family, and every creature that had sheltered within the ark now stood upon solid, vibrant earth. The air, crisp and clean, filled their lungs with a sense of renewal, a quiet joy that transcended mere relief. But Noah knew this new beginning was not simply an outcome of nature's cycle, but an act of divine mercy, a gift from the Creator who had remembered them through the tempest. His first impulse, before tending to any other need, was an act of profound gratitude. With deliberate, reverent hands, Noah gathered stones from the cleansed earth. He stacked them carefully, one upon another, shaping a simple altar. It was not grand or ornate, but a testament of devotion, built from the very dust of a world reborn. Upon this altar, he selected from the clean animals and clean birds, creatures that had been spared by grace, and offered them as a burnt offering to the Lord. The crackle of fire, the rising column of smoke, a fragrant essence ascending into the vast blue expanse of the sky. It was a worship born of humility, a song of thanks whispered by the flames and carried on the wind, a solemn pledge of a heart overwhelmed with wonder. And the Lord smelled the soothing aroma. It was more than a scent. It was the essence of a contrite and grateful spirit reaching out, a prayer of trust rising from the very depths of a soul. And in his heart, the Lord was pleased. He looked upon Noah, upon his family, upon the fledgling life of the earth, and his divine compassion moved him to make an unbreakable promise. Never again would all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again would a flood destroy the earth. This was not merely a declaration, but a covenant, a solemn pact, established not just with Noah and his children, but with all future generations, and with every living creature that breathed upon the earth. A promise of steadfast patience, of enduring mercy, woven into the very fabric of existence. The seasons would continue their dance, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. They would never cease. Life, fragile and precious, would be sustained. Then, as if to underscore the profound weight of this eternal pledge, the heavens began to shift. Where the sun had been bright, soft clouds began to gather, not menacingly, but with a gentle artistry. And then, from behind these emerging veils, light fractured. A magnificent arc of color bloomed across the vast canvas of the sky. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. A breathtaking spectrum painted with celestial brushstrokes, spanning the heavens from horizon to horizon. It was the rainbow, a sign, a visible, tangible emblem of God's covenant. When the clouds gather over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, God would look at it and remember his everlasting covenant between him and every living creature of every kind on the earth. It was a promise of peace, etched in light and water, a reminder that even after the storm, beauty can emerge and hope can shine. The very sight of it would bring to mind the divine faithfulness, a quiet assurance that even amidst life's inevitable tempests, there is a steadfast, loving hand guiding all creation. It was a gentle assurance, a vibrant kiss upon the face of a reborn world, a perpetual testament to a divine promise that would endure as long as the skies themselves. Thank you for spending this time with Scripture Lamp. I hope the story of the Ark's gentle voyage, a story of faith and new beginnings, brought you peace, and that you are resting easy now. If it did, another gentle story is waiting for you right here on the screen. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next one.